Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
O's man, 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 I pull up in that old jet, hold fast.
Yo, what's up? This is I fucked that whole intro up. This is this is episode 27 of the podcast. So we're at maybe I should re-record that, or I should just leave it. No, this is episode 27 of the 40 Ounce Fridays podcast. We're at the finale of the season, I guess, if you want to call it that, since... oh my god, my voice. Since this is the last one of the year. Christmas was the other day, guys. How was your Christmas? I know you can't tell me that directly, but you can comment and do all that good stuff. Look, we're just gonna try to jump into it. I always try to jump into it, and then I end up rambling for like 40 minutes about some stuff and some things. But no, Christmas was cool. Didn't do much, mainly. I was at home for like the first half of my day, pretty much. Then I went out, hung out with my girlfriend, hung out with some friends. It was cool. And then I had to go to work at 6 a.m. the next day. So I ended up crashing at a friend's house because it was raining outside and the Uber was surging and we were all drunk. So I went to sleep at like 12 and had to get up at like 5 in the morning to go to work. And it always shocks me when I come into work early. This is the earliest I went into work was like 6 a.m. But it's always weird, like, coming in at, like, 7:30 or even, like, 8 o'clock and seeing so many people in one place at one time. Because I don't... Like, sometimes I'll be up that early, but I won't leave my house until, like, at least 9 o'clock. Usually maybe even 10 to go do anything. I kind of just lounge around for a really long time. So it's always weird, like, going into work and I have, like, this, like, thought in my head, regardless of, like, oh, it'll be slow. No one will come in. And people, like, are just coming in. I'm just like, how? How are you up? How are you awake? How are you here? So, when I got there at 6, because, I got dropped off there, I could see people inside. And the whole parking lot is empty. There's, like, one big-ass, delivery truck delivering, like, you know, food and stuff to the stores next door. Like, they're, like, stock and inventory. But, like, the parking lot's completely fucking empty, except for, like, these 3 cars parked in front of where I work. So I was just like, how? How are you guys, how is this even possible? People really come in at 6 a.m. to get bagels. It's ridiculous. But anyhow, I did that, and I kind of just lounged for the rest of yesterday, but I have almost all my energy, my juice back, so to speak. And we're going to do this, and then I'm going to be lazy some more today, because then I got to work the weekend. I got to work New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. So hip hip hooray for me. But let's just jump into this. Sorry for the laziness. I'm tired. I'll probably just get more and more energized as things go along. But we're just going to talk about plans for 2020. Going over, like, you know, whether it be like the podcast, another random tale, this and that and this, da da da. My favorite things from, like, the decade, because we already went over, like, my favorite things from this year, I believe. Yeah, we talked about, like, music and games and stuff, and I briefly went into my favorite stuff for the decade, but I didn't get too into it, just because I didn't have enough time, and I didn't want to rush those things, because I feel like those things deserve a little more time to be discussed and talked about. And, yeah, I want to try to just do a little chill, positive, end of the year podcast type deal. Because we should end it off positive, because last week I was just kind of ranting for an hour. and while that was fun, and it helped me release some stress, I don't want to end the year off angry. So, hopefully we get through this pretty chill. So let's get into it. So first off, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Raid Shadow Legends. No, I'm just kidding. Can you imagine if I was making that Raid Shadow Legends money? I don't know if anyone knows about that, but if you watch as much YouTube as I do, well, not recently, yeah, because a lot of YouTubers do their ads in their videos instead of just, having mid-rolls. YouTubers make their money off of, like, AdSense and pretty much sponsors. So when you are watching YouTube and an ad plays, that's how they get money from how many ads played through, like, a video, not just purely how many views, how much the video was watched through, a lot of other analytical stuff. But a lot of YouTubers get, like, sponsorships directly, like, oh, we'll give you a bag, just, advertise our game. And they're just our app or our service or whatever. And some of them are cool, like Skillshare looks really cool. I haven't heard anything really bad about Skillshare. It's like, well, I ain't even going to talk about it because they're not paying me to talk about it. But, anywho, there's this one mobile game that a lot of YouTubers for, like, a good string of, like, maybe 5 to 6 months were talking about during their videos. It wasn't like a mid-roll ad, like an ad that just plays during a YouTube video. You know how in the middle of the video it's just like, let me play this ad really quick that you can skip in 5 seconds. It'll be during the video. They have, like, that promotion. Excuse me, because they're getting paid directly to do it. Kind of like how sometimes podcasters will do their promotions. Instead of being pre-recorded, they'll just read it during the recording. But they'll do a little skit or, like, ad, just their own little spin to advertise it. And it was Raid Shadow Legends. It's like some mobile fantasy RPG thing. And, the whole, you could tell they all got the same script because it was just, like, beautiful console-level graphics and intriguing story, tactical and smart gameplay, this and this, PvP, different factions, all that stuff. They just kind of all had their own spin on it. But, it went on for 6 months and just kind of became, like, a big joke, not only between, like, people who were watching, like, YouTube videos, but, like, the content creators themselves. I don't know why I butchered that. Content creators themselves. So, now it's gotten to a point where a lot of people are, like, openly, like, hating on those niggas, like, Raid Shadow Legends, because the game is not that great. It's your standard gotcha RPG clicky click mobile game. You can even have, like, autoplay, so that just, like, takes away the aspect of you actually doing anything. You know how that is. And they bombard you with ads to buy, like, their packs every time you open up the app, like, here, purchase this premium stuff, I even tried it out just because I was like, it was getting thrown at me so many times. I'm like, I have to see if they're, like, serious about liking this game or they're just flexing for a bag. And they were it was for the bag. It was definitely for the bag. The game's not bad as far as mobile games go, but it's like a mobile gacha game, so it's just it's what I expected. I uninstalled that shit because I don't got time to play this. But yeah, it's gotten to the point where, like, a lot of YouTubers that I'll watch, even, like, when the video starts, they used to, like, advertise Raid a lot because, they needed the bread. But now that they saw that their audience wasn't really feeling it, they're like, okay, it's not worth it. But they'll, like, joke about it. They'll be like, this video is brought to you by Raid. You thought I was going to do it. Like, shit like that. Or some people just flat out admit they have not fucking, they get the emails for the ads, or from Raid to like be a sponsor, and they're just like, no, leave me alone. And they try to do everything in their power to get the emails to stop coming. But anyway, that was just me giving a long explanation of why I had to do the Raid joke before the year ended, because I doubt we'll see them ever again. Unless they make a Raid Shadow Legends 2. I don't fucking know. But this podcast was sponsored by me, actually, if I really think about it. I'm the one paying his Podbean subscription. So thank you, me. Thank you for funding my dreams. You gotta do it yourself sometimes. Okay, so 2020. What are we doing 2020? I'm still doing the podcast. I said I wanted to start a season 2, so to speak. Like, this is like the season finale kind of thing. So season 2, so to speak, is going to be like, I don't want a full structure, because I feel like, I don't want to say my rambles are perfect, because they're not. I ramble a lot, and I need to chill on that. I just rambled about that Raid ad. But I don't want to say like a full-on structure, but kind of like a more, I guess like a more skeletal structure, like an outline for how I want each episode to be. Kind of just like, we do the introductions, maybe like quick little bits of stuff I've heard about, like with games and anime and manga, music, all that stuff. Just kind of quickly go over like little topics. I want to start reviewing the Yu Yu Hakusho episodes again, because I think I said that before when I stopped doing the analysis, that I wasn't like feeling I was giving the analysis enough justice. I kind of just felt like I was more regurgitating the plot, just in this fast, not as good. Like if I was going to do that, you might as well just watch the show kind of thing. So I want to do like actual kind of like review retrospective, and I feel like the problem was I was trying to go over like full arcs or like a half an arc during podcast episodes, and I just didn't have enough time to explain everything I wanted to explain. So rather doing that, I want to do, this is something that I want to be like a definite thing for next year when we do more podcast episodes. I want to like rewatch Yu Yu Hakusho, because I needed a fucking 3,000th excuse to rewatch Yu Yu Hakusho. I just finished it again earlier this year, but I want to rewatch it, but I want to watch it weekly. What I'm going to do is I'll watch the episode maybe at like the top of the week, day before, or something like that. I'll watch it sometime before I record the podcast. And I want to actually like sit down, think about the episode, you know, review it, talk about it a little bit, go into the details of the things I was trying to explain in the retrospective that I just didn't have enough time to explain. So we'll just do that weekly, and that'll kind of be like a weekly bit, or weekly little series, mini thing, segment, topic. And that's going to last a long time, because there's like 112 episodes of Yu Yu Hakusho, so 112 weeks of that. But that'll be a little segment. I feel like if I have like a solid 20 to 25 minutes, I don't want to do a full half hour, so I'll just say like 20 to 30 minutes, depending on the episode and how much I have to talk about it, just dedicated to a Yu Yu Hakusho episode, where I can just get all my thoughts out on it, and then we can move along. So it'd be like the introductions, quick little news, Yu Yu Hakusho bits, main comments, or main topic, whatever we're going to be discussing that week, and then the outro. So I don't like to structure myself too much, because I tend to like want to go off the structure. Like when there's like rules laid out, or kind of like you have to follow it like this, I tend to want to not do that, even when I set the rules up myself. But I feel like I can make that loose enough where things can be switched around. Like, I feel like the only, like, for sure thing in that is the Yu Yu Hakusho episode stuff, and that's my favorite anime of all time, so I'm definitely going to do that, regardless of how I feel about the rest of the structure. And maybe occasionally things will get moved around, or we'll do like the Yu Yu Hakusho review and then one big topic instead of just quick news, or maybe we'll do several smaller topics instead of one main topic and some quick news. It'll all depend on how it goes by through the weeks, but that's kind of the idea I have set up. Intro, quick news, Yu Yu Hakusho, main topic, outro. So that's what I want to do for next year. Also, I still am getting the better recording equipment. I want to do that definitely because I do listen back to these podcast episodes. If not the whole episode, then like good chunks. I'll kind of listen to the beginning, then I'll like fast forward a couple minutes, listen to some stuff in the middle. But I'll listen to a good majority of each episode, like listen back to it to see what I feel like I need to work on. Was I staying on topic, tangents, da-da-da-da-da. I feel like this first season was a lot more like free form and free roam. I was just kind of trying to grasp a feel for everything. And now that I kind of have that, I can work on it better. But I need the better equipment. But that won't happen right away. Like, for that to happen right away, I would have needed to get the stuff I needed, like, right now. And I just was not in the position to do that. But over time, next year, I'll be doing that. I already have, like, stuff planned out on, like, wish list I can get, this and that. I'm going to do a little more research, maybe go shopping at some stores directly, see what I can find. And then over time, buy all that stuff. And then, so maybe, like, the first few episodes in the new year will still kind of sound like this, just with, like, that newer structure. And then over time, we'll try to upgrade and update ourselves. But other than that, that's it for that's the podcast. The podcast is just going to keep cruising through. And I think we did okay for, me starting out. I started doing this in, like, June? I did, like, a few little test episodes in June, and then after that, I did, like, 3 of those, and then I started. So we've been doing it for, like, 6-7 months. And thanks for rocking with me as much as you guys have. I know I post the episodes of the podcast on Facebook and on YouTube, but I really, really appreciate it if you guys just came to Podbean directly. The reason why I have the episodes up on Facebook and on YouTube is, extra exposure, stuff to show off on the art project page as well. And while I would like you guys to also support art projects, the art project page for other stuff I'm working on, when it comes to the podcast, I'd rather you come to Podbean directly, purely because Podbean shows me how many views I get, comments I directly get on episodes. If you follow Podbean, you get notified of the episodes, and it shows me how many people are actually following the podcast. So it shows a level of engagement. So I'd rather you come directly to the app. I know some people don't want to do that because they don't want to download the app or something like that, and that's fine. That's why I offer the other options, because at the end of the day, if you're listening, and I know some people give me feedback on Facebook rather than on Podbean because they don't listen to it on Podbean. But number one way to support the podcast, go ahead and like it on Podbean. That's another thing I need to do. I need to try to upload it to different places. And when I get like the better stuff, the better equipment, I'll feel more comfortable uploading it to more multiple podcasting platforms. So we'll that'll be a touch and go thing. We'll come to it when we cross that bridge when we get to it. I think that's it for, like, podcast news. I don't think I have anything else to add to that besides, like, that's the plan. Thanks for the support. We did a hype for something that's, like, relatively unknown with 0 following, just starting out. I think we did okay. It's just going to take more effort to continue to grow that. So once that happens, that happens. Ooh, excuse me. But I ain't stressing. Art project. In terms of art project altogether, also, if you don't know what art project is, if you haven't heard me talk about it before, it's pretty much, I don't want to say my company, because it's not really a company yet. You gotta do a lot of steps to make something like that. But it's the idea I have for, like, company, group, whatever you want to call it. We'll call it, like, group right now for all my creative needs, whether it be, like, for podcasting, for the comic books that I am working on, and other stuff I have planned to do later once we are in a position to do that. But yeah, our project, we're doing all right. We're finally, it took me long enough to do it, but we're finally, like, laying out groundwork and roots to get things started. So hopefully 2020 we can actually start moving forward. And when I say actually start moving forward, I mean, like I said, like, improve on the podcast to try to get a bigger following and start the comic Another Random Tale. Sorry with all the stretching, dude. I'm really sore. I slept like a fucking idiot last night. But, yeah, start on the comic Another Random Tale. That's the story I've been working on for a while now, but, I finally have a team together. I've been talking about that. I got an illustrator, 2 illustrators, in fact. Like, one's mainly working more on background stuff and things of that nature, and one, like, main character designer. I have an editor. It's gonna help me, edit the story bits that I need to, dialogue, things like that. Say, pretty much there to be like, yo, I don't really think this is a good idea. Another voice of reason, of course. You need another input, so we have that. And then we have a social media coordinator. Haven't really started on that yet, but I think once we hit 2020, it's a fresh year, so I'll try to jump on that more. But, yeah, we have been working for, like, the last, like, month and a half, something like that. We've been meeting up at least once a week, getting together, and working on things. We finally, we did, like, I wrote an outline for the newer draft of the first chapter, which is pretty much just written to be more in a comic book format. And we were going over it to get a feel for the story. And we started like a little bit of storyboarding, they were drawing some, basic designs for the characters, for ideas, yet nothing's like solid yet. But next time we meet up, we're supposed to, they were supposed to, get some storyboarding done on their own separately, and then we were all going to get together, compare notes, compare ideas, and make one solid storyboard for that first chapter. So the plan, hopefully, as soon as possible, is to get kind of like a draft chapter, or a pilot chapter of the first chapter of Another Random Tale out some point. And I feel like for that pilot chapter, of course, for the pilot chapter, I'm going to release it for free. Because the main thing I'm looking for at that point is opinions, criticism, comments, questions, things like that to see, hey, what can we do to make this as good as it can possibly be? That's what I'll be looking for. And if we get, mostly positive reception, I don't feel like we'll need to redo that chapter unless we want to, touch up on some artwork, some other designs, maybe like some story beats here and there. But depending, that might just, stay that first official chapter and we'll just keep going from there. Or after that pilot chapter, we'll have to redo chapter 1 for an official release. But ideally, that's what I want to do. Do I want to sell Another Random Tale as a comic? Yes. Yes, I do. Because when you put so much time and energy and work into something, especially when you have other people involved, I have like 4 other people involved, you're going to want money out of it. Because if we can get money off of it, make money off of it, and make it something more and more successful over time, we don't have to worry about being constrained of like, oh, I gotta work, so I can't do this today. It's like, the goal is to have that be my job, but it's gonna take a lot of time. But yeah, eventually I want to sell them. They'll be sold for cheap. Don't even trip. They shouldn't be relatively expensive, but yeah, hopefully I want to sell that. And several people have recommended to me that, hey, you should start a Patreon. And it's just like, people keep doing that, and it's like, I'm down to do a Patreon, but only when I for sure have something to offer. Since, like, a lot of the stuff I've been having, like, has mainly been either still in the brain, an idea process, or just really, really basic. I don't want support for it yet. So, like, maybe at some point in 2020 when we have, like, a more stable footing, like, maybe when that pilot draft comes out, like I said, that'll be free, but then maybe I'll open up a Patreon for Art Project exclusively, and then whoever donates to that is directly funding us working on Art Project, like getting more supplies, better equipment, things like that. And then we'll go from there. But as of right now, I don't want to do a Patreon just because that money's not going to be really used for anything yet. So I'd feel kind of dirty having it, essentially. I remember when I streamed too, back when I was streaming on Twitch still, somebody was like, yeah, you should do a Patreon for donations. And I was like, I don't really feel comfortable doing that because I wasn't even like affiliate yet. And I never made affiliate just because I didn't stream enough. I met all the requirements. I just didn't keep enough concurrent viewers. And that's because I wasn't streaming enough. I needed to stream more often. And I got too busy. I was too tired. But, you know, it is what it is. I one day want to stream again too. It's just not going to be anytime soon. It's not planned for it. There's no schedule for it. I would love to. And a lot of my friends, a few of them who are affiliate were like, yeah, dude, you should go back to streaming again because, you know, they will watch it sometimes, they said, and they really enjoyed it. So I was like, oh, okay. Maybe I should. I just don't have the time. The only time I can really stream is at night where, you know, most people do, but I can't be like super loud. You know, I got neighbors, this and that. I got work in the morning. I'll have work that same day, so I'll be exhausted. I got to work on another random tale. I got to try to find free time for me to just relax. I'm behind on manga. Like, fucking heavy nerd problems, but still, like, I got a lot on my plate that I need to sort out for myself. But one day eventually I want to, like, when I know I have the freedom to consistently stream, just end up streaming again. So that'd be cool. But yeah, go to Facebook, support the Art Project page. That's the main place you're going to find whatever I'm doing. Whether it be stuff for Another Random Tale, whether it be stuff for the podcast, because like I said, I upload episodes there, and I upload links to Podbean to listen to the podcast on Podbean directly, because it takes time for the episode to also upload to Facebook and YouTube. So I just share the link. That way, if you want to watch it now, it's up on Podbean. And like I said, I want more traffic to Podbean. These are just alternative options. But that, for anything else I'm going to be doing, that's the main place to find it. That's where I post most of my stuff. I know it's starting to get to the point where people are like, Facebook is for old people, but it's just like, I've already had that Facebook page for so long, because it was like, back when I was running a very, very different story, like years and years ago, it was a page for that, and then I totally just revamped the page for another storyline, which eventually became Another Random Tale. But now that I'm really, like, out here doing more stuff involving Another Random Tale, I don't just want to, like, ditch the Facebook page because, well, now that I'm doing stuff, I want it to stay. And I've actually been gaining new likes recently, which has been freaking me out. I know that's a good thing, but I'm just like, why are people hearing about this shit? Like, I gained, like, it hasn't been, like, drastically a lot, but I gained, like, a couple of new likes. Like, I gained, like, 2 or 3 last week, and then the week before that I had one, and the, like, 2 weeks prior but it's, like, people I know I don't know, so I'm just like, how the fuck? So, I'm slowly gaining, like, very, very, very slowly, but surely am, like, gaining more eyes watching me in terms of what Art Project's page is doing. So now I'm just like, well, if this keeps up, and especially if it speeds up, I don't want to just ditch the page, because this is going to be a following. This is where I'm going to have access to people giving me input or telling me they like something, or, hey, da-da-da-da-da, asking questions, information, maybe be able to help me out with certain aspects of the business of making a comic or doing a podcast and stuff like that. So I just don't want to ditch the page, because it's kind of important to me at this point, and I've kind of sunk a lot of time into it. So now that I'm finally seeing a return on that, I don't want to leave it in the dust. But yeah, I don't have a lot of likes on that page. It's less than 100, I know that. I think we just hit like maybe 70 something. I think. I could be completely wrong. But, I gained a good chunk of likes this year. And that's because I've been putting myself out there more. And I need to keep doing that. I need to consistently do that. So, which is why I have a social media coordinator. Which is why I got someone to do that. Or is going to do that. Because I'm not consistent enough when it comes to social media. Not because I don't want to, just because I forget. I'm lazy. So I'll just be like, oh yeah, I should have posted something about this. So I try to. It's just hard to keep up to get in that habit for me. Because normally if I'm on my phone, I'm looking at memes or I'm watching like YouTube or I'm reading manga. like I'm not like posting. If you're my friend on Facebook, you'll see me post some like nerdy opinion stuff. But it's not constant enough. So yeah. Because we also have an Instagram and a Twitter. I completely fucking do not use that Twitter. I'll like read tweets from like a lot of popular like nerd people or YouTubers I follow on Twitter, but like tweeting, like I just don't. Like sometimes I'll tweet the link to the podcast if I remember to, but that's about it. Instagram, I've been using Instagram a little more often, I want to say, especially since it's linked to the Facebook page. So whenever I like post a photo or a video onto Instagram, it automatically posts to our project's Facebook page as well. So that's helpful for me because I'm just like, well, I might as well post this on Instagram because it's going to auto post to Facebook. So then I have them posted on both. But that's about it. That's as far as it goes. And the YouTube channel doesn't do anything. I just have podcast episodes get uploaded there too in case people want to watch it on YouTube. I need to do other stuff. But yeah, like, it's a lot I need to expand on. And I'm going to try to take the time to do that next year, but that's why I have someone going to be doing the social media stuff for me. For, like, at least Twitter and Instagram, maybe the Facebook page, too. YouTube, I feel like I'll still try to handle more, like, besides posting podcast episodes, maybe I'll post, like, other videos. When we're actually, like, working on another Random Tale, like, writing the storyboard, or drawing the storyboard out, and forming that pilot comic, maybe I'll have little video snippets of us working. It's like, we'll be working throughout the night, but we'll be clowning and joking and drinking at the same time, so maybe we'll get some funny moments from that, who knows. But, a lot of stuff I need to get together. It's hard to do, personally for me, just because I got a million thoughts going through my brain at the same fucking time, and I have to go to work, and though I don't have to, I'm lucky because my current job, we close pretty early. So the latest I usually get home is like 5-ish. Probably a little later, maybe like 7-ish if I go hang out with my girlfriend like right after work. But it's lucky for me that I don't have to worry about like, oh, I gotta work tonight so I can't work on another Random Tale. Because I always know when I get home I could work on another Random Tale. I always know I could go work on this or that. It's just, do I have the energy to do it? And sometimes I don't, and sometimes I have to push myself to do it. Not because it's like, oh, this is such a chore. It's like, I want to do it. I'm just so fucking tired. So I need to work out more, too. I think that'll help. But yeah, that's the general consensus of what we're doing 2020. Anything else? I might update just on the page. Like, if I have any other plans. Like, music, I want to do more music. And a lot of the friends I do music with want to do more music. That's also another matter of finding the time, because being an adult who wants to have hobbies is hard. Because you have to go to work, and then you also have to sleep, and you also have to have time to yourself. You can't just be around people all the time. You need alone time. But then not too much alone time, because then you become antisocial. So that's a matter of time. I am writing some stuff, like, in terms of, like, music and poetry, so maybe I'll, like, post that to the page. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But that's another aspect. That's, like, the bottom aspect, just because that one's going to take more time to start up than the rest at this current point. But it is something I've been thinking about. So, hopefully we'll get to that. And I also have to find time to play games. I'm almost done with Valkyrie Chronicles 4. Update on that. I think I talked about that either last week or 2 weeks ago. I'm almost done. I'm on the last fight of the last chapter. But I started it last night, and I kind of just saved it and closed the game because I'm like, yo, this shit about to be hard. I really don't feel like sinking a lot of time into this. The objective is simple enough. You just have to destroy this giant last enemy tank or something like that. But it's going to be so hard to destroy, and I know for a fact that it is. And so I'm just like, oh, this is going to take so much time to do. I don't want to deal with it right now. I didn't want to deal with it right at that point. I want to try to finish it before the year ends, though. So I got some time. I got about a week. Less than a week, right? When is New Year's Eve? Tuesday or Monday? What's the date? 27th? So, tomorrow's the 28th, 29th, 30th. Tuesday is New Year's Eve. Right? Right? Or am I tripping? Yeah. Tuesday is the 31st. So, I want to try to finish it by Tuesday then. Hopefully Monday night. That way I don't have to, because I want to go out New Year's Eve too. My girlfriend wants me to. So I don't want to just be hanging out with people, partying and drinking. Meanwhile, I have my Switch. I'll be like, everyone shut up. This is really sensitive. And it's been stressing me out because my Joy-Cons, like many other Switch owners, have been experiencing what is known as the Joy-Con drift. Where if you don't own a Switch, or if you're one of the lucky people who just hasn't experienced this after having their Switch for over a year, it usually occurs after about a year of use. Some people said even shorter than that. Mine was a little short of a year. It started at the start of December that I really started having this issue. So that's a little shy of a year because I got my Switch on the 30th of December. Or the 29th. It was the 29th. So it was a little shy of a month before a year. But around that point, if you don't know what Joy-Con drift is, because I didn't know for a while either, Joy-Con drift is when your Joy-Cons start moving on their own. So, say if you're not touching your controller, you just put it down on the floor, your character still moves. It's not an auto movement. That's an error in the Joy-Con itself. So, and then you'll try to fix it, and then they'll still try to move. With Valkyrie Chronicles, it's a strategy game. It's like a strategy war game. So you move around the battlefield, and then you have to, when you stop to shoot, you have to aim at a person. So you're doing the aiming. So when I'm lining up a shot, I'll try to get the shot right, and I'll move the stick to the side, and it'll keep going. And I have to fight it to move it back, and I have to keep going back and forth with it until it just lets me do what I want to do. And it's been getting worse over the course of the month. And I normally play with my Pro Controller, but I left it at a friend's house, and I just haven't gotten it back yet. So I've been struggling with that. So that's another reason why I haven't finished the game. I'm just I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with the last boss and this Joy-Con drift problem all at the same time. And I don't want to play any other games because I know if it's annoying on a relatively more, I don't want to say tourney-based game because there is a lot more active stuff to Valkyrie Chronicles, but it is more turn-based. I'm already struggling with that. Imagine how the fuck playing Smash Bros would be. That would be infuriating. Or playing Pokemon and you're trying to select a move and your cursor keeps jumping all over the place and you can't select the right move, so then you end up using a ghost type move on a normal type, and then you get bitch slapped. So, I haven't been wanting to play any other games besides Valkyrie Chronicles because I'm just I'll deal with it. But I want to finish it before the year ends, and I need to get my Pro Controller back. That's the main thing. Once I get my Pro Controller back, I don't have to fucking deal with those Joy-Cons. But no, it's a serious issue, and there's a lot of controversy going over it. I believe a bunch of people like sued Nintendo, did like a big claim on them. I don't remember all the details of what happened. I wasn't paying attention to it very much because I didn't have the issue yet. I wasn't saying the issue was non-existent just because I didn't have it, because that's a dumb thing to think. Just because it didn't happen to you doesn't mean it didn't happen. But I asked what it was because I didn't know what Joy-Con drift was, and somebody explained it to me. And I've seen some videos, some things talking about it. I just don't know too deep because I wasn't like super invested into that yet. But now that it's an issue for me personally, I want to dive into it some more and see what I can do to fix the problem, because this shit is annoying. You'll already be like stressed out doing a battle in Valkyria Chronicles, and you're just like fuck. So there's this thing in Valkyria Chronicles called interception fire. So when your character is moving, it's a shooting game, like it's war. So you have like scouts, so they have rifles, and you have like shock troopers, they have machine guns, snipers, sniper rifles, shit like that. So certain units will have interception fire, where if it's your turn and you move within a range or a radius where the enemy can see, each unit has a different like line of sight, they will shoot at you. Certain units won't. Like Lancers, they're mainly there to shoot these giant kind of like rockets at tanks. They're anti-tank kind of units. They don't have interception fire, and they're the only unit without it. Some units don't get interception fire until they like advance up in rank. Like snipers don't have interception fire initially, shit like that. But if you get into their range or line of sight, they will shoot you as you're moving. So as you're moving into enemy territory, it's not like, oh, it's my turn, they won't shoot me. They will shoot you if they see you, so you have to be careful. The thing that's annoying with Joy-Con drift with that is, I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna run in, shoot this guy, take the time to let out my shot because the fucking drift is bothering me. Then I want to hide behind this cover, because hiding behind cover will reduce damage taken. And, like, I'll try to, like, crouch behind the cover and then end my turn, but my character keeps wanting to walk over the cover and walk into the line of fire, and it's so fucking annoying. it's I'm going off on a tangent on Joy-Con drift. So, Joy-Con drift aside, let's get into that last thing I wanted to talk about before we ended up this year. This is really going to be the last podcast of the year. How about that? But I wanted to go into my favorite things of the decade that I brought up before 2 weeks ago. So favorite game, favorite anime, favorite album of the last 10 years. And why I picked them, what I really like about them, I feel like for each of these, I could go deeper into detail, like maybe do a whole podcast episode about each one. Possibly I could do that. I'm not going to. Maybe in the future, not today, clearly, where we too deep into this episode to pick one. Also, this is the year-end kind of thing, but I'll start off with game, because I feel like that one's going to be the easiest one to explain out of the three. So my favorite game of the last 10 years was, and this is my opinion, I want to clarify that it's my opinion. Like, people like, yeah, how's that the best game? When this game did, I realize what games have come out in the last 10 years. I do. This is my opinion of my favorite one. Not which one I think is the absolute best. That's a whole different discussion if you want to have that discussion. This is my personal favorite. I have my reasons for it being my personal favorite. That's all this is. This isn't me saying this is the undisputed champ. This is me saying this is the one I like most. So, my favorite game of the last 10 years, Dragon Age Inquisition. Why is Dragon Age Inquisition my favorite game of the last 10 years? The main reason is Dragon Age as a series of games is my favorite game series, period. Dragon Age is definitely my favorite game series, currently of all time. If you disagree with me, you disagree with me. That's okay. You know why? Because it's an opinion. This is my favorite game series. I remember playing Origins way back, and like, I think the first time I ever played Origins was, I want to say 2010 or 2011. It was definitely before I graduated. But yeah, 2010 or 2011 was the first time I ever played a Dragon Age game. And I know Dragon Age Origins came out well a good chunk of years before 2010, 2011. But that's just when I played a Dragon Age game. That was the first time I played one. And I remember playing it or getting it because I was at a friend's house. And I was like, I need a new RPG to play, because I'm super into RPGs. Like, I need a new RPG to play. And I was looking over games, and I picked, like, a few things. I picked Sleeping Dogs, which became one of my... I fucking love Sleeping Dogs. It's such a over-the-top game. I love Sleeping Dogs so much. I had it on Xbox 360, because I borrowed it from a friend. My friend was just like, dude, just keep it. I ended up buying the Definitive Edition on the Xbox One, and then I think we also have it on PS4. It's such a good game. It's such a good game. Give Sleeping Dogs a shot if you have. It's so over the top. You'll love it though. Fun storyline. But I got that, and I got Dragon Age Origins. I don't think I got anything else. I think I just picked up those two. And Origins in terms of like setting doesn't really have anything special about it. It's kind of, like that medieval world with knights and magic and dragons and stuff like that. But I was super into that. Like, especially at that age, like, I was super into that fantasy world, like Final Fantasy and shit and things of that nature. Like, I like those kinds of worlds. I've said that before. I like super fantasy-like worlds, or like small town, one city kind of location kind of things. Those are like my favorite two kinds of settings. Like, it has to be set in, like, a city, like with Durarara, or JoJo's Part 4, shit like that. It has to be set in, like, small town, city-based kind of thing. Usually that's how I feel for more modern stuff. And then when it's, like, fantasy, I love the big, sprawling world to explore. I like those two aspects. But, I don't know, Dragon Age is cool. Dragon Age's lore is just, it goes so deep. Like, you learn so much just from, like, listening to the intro to Origins. You're just like, holy shit, this happens? Because I feel stupid for not knowing this for sure, but I believe it's like every 100 years is a new age. So you're currently in the Dragon, that's what the year is called. It's the Dragon Age, which is why the game's called Dragon Age. But, there's been ages before that. That's just how they mark their time. But I just remember seeing that intro and, like, hearing the lore and just being like, man, they are trying to captivate you immediately. And then you create your character, choose your background. It felt so D&D like. I think that's why I enjoyed it. Because it's just like, oh, you're this, and you choose your background. And it's just, that's something, like, those are common staples in RPGs with character creation like that nowadays. Especially, like, even back then, like, that was, like, par for the course. Because Mass Effect did something very similar, but BioWare also made Mass Effect. But, I don't know what it was that, like, captivated me about it, but I really liked it. The story is, and then when you play and learn the story, that's when you're just like, that's why this game is so good. Its storyline is fucking fantastic. Dragon Age Origins storyline is great. I think if you have to choose, like, the best aspect from each game, if you had to choose which one had the best story, probably Dragon Age Origins, I would say. The classic story. Like, you're, depending on your background, you're whatever, but regardless of what background you choose, what race you choose, because you can be a human, an elf, or a dwarf, regardless of what background you choose, where you start, what class you are, you end up being recruited as this thing called a Grey Warden. A Grey Warden is it's an order of people who essentially kill these demonic entities known as Darkspawn. Darkspawn happened because it's a long story. Play Dragon Age if you want to know more about that. But pretty much, the way of becoming a Grey Warden after training, you have to gain what is called a taint. And pretty much, you do a ritual where you drink Darkspawn blood. If you survive, because you can very well fucking die from this, you end up having like this link to the Archdemon. And the Archdemon is pretty much the leader of the Darkspawn, or a very powerful demon that has control over the other Darkspawn. And so you can sense when like a strong amount of Darkspawn are nearby, this and that. You're pretty much like a soldier made to destroy these things. And it's kind of a dark path because at the end of it all, you start to kind of lose your mind when after you've been doing it for a long time. Like the taint eventually takes you, and you end up going into this underground like abandoned place called the Deep Roads, where Grey Wardens spend the last of their days there to die or be killed because they're a danger just lurking around once the taint has overtaken them too much. So it's sad, but some people do it because they're doing it for the just cause. But I played that game. I really enjoyed it. I didn't play any DLC at the time when I first played it. I only played Origins. I didn't play Awakening or any other DLC involved in Dragon Age Origins. Then I met a buddy a year and a half later after I had graduated school. So, a year or two later, depending on when I actually did play Origins. And he was like, "Oh, dude, you play Dragon Age? Oh, this and that, da, da, da." And he started talking about Dragon Age 2, and I'd never played it. A friend, his mom was super into Dragon Age as well, and she was like, "Here," and she gave me Dragon Age 2 for the PC. I was like, "Yo, this is dope." And I had a laptop, and I remember playing Dragon Age 2 so fondly because my laptop was not built to play games at all. So it worked. I was able to play Dragon Age 2, but there'd be times where the game would, freeze up and you kind of have to wait for it to load. The loading times between areas could be like really, really long because my computer couldn't handle the game. And that's sad because Dragon Age 2 isn't like the most demanding game. But my computer was not a gaming computer at all. But I played it, dude, and I think Dragon Age 2 sticks out because what it lacks in, exploration is also probably, one of the better things in Origins 2. I think Inquisition does a great job with it, too, but Inquisition, what 2 lacked in kind of, story, the story was good, just not as strong, or, world, because in Dragon Age 2, you stay in the city of Kirkwall. You stay in this one city throughout the whole game. That's where your character is located and building a name for themselves, and that's where the story takes place. What they lacked in that, they made up for with characters. I feel like your companions in Dragon Age 2 are probably the best lineup of companions. This is my opinion. I like the companions in all the games. But your companion lineup in Dragon Age 2 is just solid. I loved all those characters. Every single one of them. No, that's a lie. I didn't love all of them. There's one of them I hate, but that's because of plot. There's some story reasons why I don't fuck with that name. And some characters are there any recurring characters from Origins in 2? I don't think so. No, the one dude I'm thinking about that I hate, he is a returning character from Origins, but he's in there's a DLC expansion that's kind of like a pseudo-ish sequel to Dragon Age Origins called Dragon Age Origins Awakening, and he's a new companion that joins you during that portion of the story. So if you played Awakening and then you played 2, he's not a new person. He was new to me when I first played because I didn't play Awakening the first time I played Origins, so I didn't know who he was. But, oh, and Isabella. Isabella is a reoccurring character who becomes a companion in 2. She's not playable in Origins, though. She's someone you meet during your travels in Origins, but she doesn't join your team. But, yeah, they have stuff like that. I don't know, like, the characters, because it takes place in a city, so everyone's kind of, like, smart mouth, there's, like, cutthroats, the shady town underground, you gotta know the lingo, the market. I don't know, I like the vibe to it. It was like that city, small town vibe, but in a more medieval setting. And so I feel like they actually did a really good job. And, like, going back when I replayed Dragon Age 2, which was, like, a year ago, or a little more than a year ago, I replayed Dragon Age 2. I replayed all the Dragon Age games, but going back and playing that again, I remember being like, yo, this game is actually pretty good. I used to be like, that game was whatever, but now, like, when I replayed it, I really liked it, and I liked the characters. Also, I built the character I made for that game, my character personally, my favorite character I've ever made in a Dragon Age game. I loved making her. She was dope. Because it just made her a smartass. So every time she had a line of dialogue, even though it wasn't like a dialogue choice, since I had already picked smartass remarks, that just became her character automatically. So she was just like a troll. She was just a big ass jokester, and it worked well with other characters, like with Isabella and Varric especially. Like, their banter was really fucking good. Like, the banter in that game is great too. But I remember playing through that, and then Inquisition had come out, and I was excited to play Inquisition. Playing Inquisition was a fucking struggle for several reasons. When I had my Xbox 360, I never got extra storage for it because I bought all my games on disc. So the only thing I needed storage space for was DLC or save data. It didn't have to install anything, like a game or anything. Because this console generation, you gotta install all the data from a disc onto a game, whether it be digital or disc. But before, it only had to be data. I got Inquisition for Christmas. I couldn't play it because the game was so big that it needed to install extra data for the map layouts, and I didn't have the storage space. So when I first got Inquisition, I could not play Inquisition because I purely did not have the storage space for it. So what I had to do is get extra storage, an extra hard drive. My birthday is in January. So for my birthday, one of my friends, I was just like, yo, dude, can you just give me a hard drive for my birthday? So he got me a hard drive for some storage. So I finally could start playing. Problem, we didn't have a nicey nice TV yet, or at least in my room, we had like the big bubble back fat TV. So the screen resolution isn't that good. This game was built for better screen resolution. I could not read any of the text on the screen at all, period. I could not read it. It was like grainy. There was no way to really enlarge it. I couldn't see what was going on. So you're like, yeah, you can pay attention to the story, but like sometimes you want to, there's lore that you have to read, or you're like, what was I supposed to be doing again? And you look it up in your journal. But I couldn't read it. I couldn't read what any abilities exactly did, or their stats, what buffs or debuffs they caused, because I couldn't read any of the text on the screen due to my TV being too old. So then I really didn't, I just eventually like slowed down. Oh my god. I don't know what that was. All the moisture in my mouth just vanished from existence. I'm so sorry about that. Jesus. All the moisture in my mouth was just immediately gone, evaporated, but where was I at? Oh, I eventually like got frustrated and just stopped playing. But what it ended up happening was, I think like this was like over a year or two later. like a year and a half, a year. This is wild. Like, this is my favorite game because a year or two later, I never finished that game until like 2 years after I got it, just because I couldn't enjoy playing it because I couldn't read. I couldn't read the text on my old ass screen. I can read just fine. I ended up getting a job, my first job. I got better stuff. I bought a monitor off one of my buddies, and I used that it was like a computer monitor, and I hooked up my 360 to it. I had all the connection ports for it, and I used that, and I could finally play Inquisition. So that's when I actually played through the game. And was it worth the journey? I think it was. Inquisition, like I said, Origins has the best story. Dragon Age 2, I think, has the best characters. I think I had the most fun in actual combat in Inquisition. And that might seem like, well, your only reason for liking Inquisition was that the combat was better. What about the story of the characters? Just because Origins had better story and 2 had better characters doesn't mean that the characters and story in Inquisition were bad. I really liked the plot to Inquisition. I like how everything was getting, like, everything came together in that game from the first 2 in a nice little neat bow. Characters from previous games made appearances, like Liliana showed up, even though she wasn't playable. She was an advisor. Colin made his 3rd appearance. Still not playable, but, you know, he was also an advisor. Varric returned from Dragon Age 2, who is my favorite fucking companion of all time. So you had all these reoccurring faces show up. You knew about certain aspects of the lore from the previous 2 games, so you're just like, oh, I remember that. Oh, I remember that. They talk about the Mage and the Templar Rebellion, which is triggered from the events of Dragon Age 2. So it's one of those things where you're just like, oh, I caused that. Your character from Dragon Age 2 makes an appearance in Inquisition, and if you have your save data transferred over, you can freely customize them. They don't, like, import your exact character design, but you can, like, customize the face and, like, the body and all of that stuff if you transfer your save data over. If not, they just default the champion of Kirkwall to, like, the generic white dude HiK. And let me tell you, transferring that save data is a pain in the ass. But I did that shit. But all that stuff together, plus the gameplay, I really, really, really liked the way the game played. Because I don't have a problem with point-and-click kind of things. Especially considering RPGs. It's like, yeah, it's point-and-click because you want to focus more on your strategy. Like, what moves are you using? What buffs are you using? This and that. So, yeah, you want to just press a button, auto-attack, do your abilities in the right pattern, switch between characters for different situations, strategize, plan things out, form your teams properly. There's a lot of aspects that still go into point-and-click kind of RPG games. But with Inquisition, it felt more like you actively had to be in the moment. Like, actually fighting. Like, you would hold down the button to attack, and you would let it go to stop auto-attacking in your chain. You do different abilities. I felt like I had more freedom in the action in Inquisition than in the other 2 games, and I like that. And it still kept a good chunk of its strategy. It lost a lot of, like, Dungeons and Dragon, like, customization in terms of skill points and what you could use your points for. They kind of just auto-leveled you based on your class. But you could still choose, like, your loadouts, your teams. There was more armor customization, too. Like, what they lacked in, like, skill department, like, I'll focus on learning poisons and stuff. Like, what they lacked in that, they made up for in armor customization, because you had a forge where you could, like, make weapons and armor, but you could, like, craft them better. Like, this one has penetration against such and such, and this one actually deals fire damage because you put this rune on it, and this armor is fire resistant, and it does so you could customize your gear to the build of your character. So if you wanted someone to be more tanky, you would build a more tanky armor for them. You would build stuff that could receive more damage, and then just choose the skill sets that would attract enemy attention towards that character, and they just be able to tank it all in and take the aggro. But so I feel like the there's still like deep customization and planning in that game. It just got moved to a different area, and I really like the way it felt. And the storyline, like I said, not as good as Origins. I still think it's better than 2's. And then characters not as good as 2's. I think they're a little better than Origins. So it kind of just was like, it was in the middle for those two aspects, but the gameplay is just really, really good. And just that all-encompassing feeling of this kind of like, of course it's not the end of the game. If you play through all the DLC, which I did the second time I played, I had streamed Dragon Age back when I was streaming. That was the first game I was actually like actively streaming, and I played through all 3 games and all the DLC. All the DLC. I think the only DLCs I didn't play were ones that were unavailable to me to get, but they were just like extra items or loot. Like anything story-wise that was DLC or new characters that were DLC, I played through. I played every little bit. Everything. And I remember getting to that DLC right at the end of Inquisition with the whole, the Trespasser DLC, where you learn about Solus's true nature personally, face to face, and what he's planning on doing. And then, like, you know, the Inquisitor had to give up his arm. And it's just like, whoa, a war is starting, boys. So, though BioWare has had a rocky few years when it comes to Andromeda, which I think wasn't that bad of a game, I'm going to be perfectly honest, Andromeda was fine. It just wasn't as good as the original Mass Effect games, but that's okay. I still had a fun time with it. Hella glitchy, though. And Anthem, hopefully they are revamping Anthem into like a 2.0 experience. That's pretty much what's been said is going on, so hopefully we'll see how that goes. I think flying in Anthem is fun as fuck, regardless of everything else. They've had some rocky few games, but I'm excited for Dragon Age still just because of the Dragon Age series. So I think it sounds more like Dragon Age is my favorite game of the decade, but Origins I think came out before 2010, so I can't really say that. But I know for a fact Inquisition is my favorite of that trilogy. And I could go back, just talking about them made me want to play them again. I was like, I'll do another playthrough, fuck it. And you want to know how much I like Inquisition? To transfer your save data from Origins to 2, all you had to do was have the save data read on the card, on the save data. And all your choices and info, what happened to your Grey Warden, because different things can happen depending on your choices, all that stuff gets transferred over. Your world state, essentially. If you wanted to transfer your world state from 2 to Inquisition, you had to log into this thing called Dragon Keep online on EA's servers, upload your save data to that, so you got to link your little EA account to your game so the save data can transfer up, and then all your choices are there. So once you do that, you can go to the little tapestry thing in the Dragon Keep and like choose certain things to upload a world state, but like the characters you created won't be there because of your save data. So I had to do that. So when I was first streaming, I was like, all right, fuck that. I don't feel like doing that. And then I thought about it as like, I really, really want my what's it called? My characters from the previous game and my choices to be in the game. So before I streamed the next day, I just played through the intro of the game again after logging into the Dragon Keep and doing all of that. But then, when I got to the point where you would start seeing choices, there are certain things I noticed. Like, in my playthrough of Origins, Aurora and Alistair do not get together. Because I had Alistair kill Logain. Because I felt like he deserved it more. I felt like Alistair deserved the right to finish Logain off. And I killed Logain. Fuck Logain. Terran Logain sucks. But I had Alistair do it. So then Aurora didn't want to marry him because he killed her father. So she was like, well, I don't want to go through with the deal anymore because I don't want to be with a dude that murdered my father regardless of what my father did. And I just had her locked up. I didn't kill her. So Alistair is supposed to rule by himself. But when I got to that point where he shows up for that little cameo in Inquisition, him and Aurora were there, so I was like, what the fuck? Did my choice not go through? And then I really knew my choice didn't go through when I got to Haven, which is the second little hub place you get due to story reasons. And you meet with the champion of Kirkwall. And it was default HiK. And I was like, no, my choice didn't get transferred over. No. And I was like, fuck, I gotta live with this shit now. And I was really bummed, and I kind of just ended the stream that day because I was like, I don't really... Ugh. And I went back to the tapestry, made sure my save data got transferred through correctly onto it, restarted the game again, and I burnt through that bitch, bro. I spent all day playing before I was supposed to stream that day to get back to Haven and made sure I had the right Inquisitor. And I told people on stream I did that. I was like, yo, I just spent the last, 7 hours doing all this stuff again because I wanted my decisions to go through. I was like, what was the point of making those choices if I don't get to see them all the way through? That's how dedicated I was to the cause. And I was just like, no, fuck that. We doing this right. So yeah, I played through the start of Dragon Age Inquisition 3 times on stream to get my world state correct. I do not regret it. And now that my world state is saved to that Origins account, I don't have to do that shit ever again. I wonder how that's going to work for 4. Do they expect people to... Because the Dragon Keep thing is still active. You can still do that. Because I did it. It's still active. As far as I know, because I played Inquisition on stream in 2018. So, as far as I know, you can still do that. Because Dragon Age 4 is supposed to come out, 2022? Or 2021 or something like that? When they did the announcement, they were like, it's probably going to be 3 or 4 years away. So, are we going to have to do the Dragon's Keep thing again? Because I have Dragon Age Origins on the Xbox One. And even though the new Xbox and the new PlayStation are coming out, I feel like by the time 4 comes out, you still should be able to get some games on the previous gen consoles as well. If I'm not mistaken, hopefully they do that, just like how they did with PS3 and Xbox 360. Because I don't want to do the Dragon Keep thing again. I don't remember my login for the Dragon Keep. I would have to go through the whole process of trying to, password recover it. Oh, my God. I hope, I don't know. I don't know what I hope there's, it could just read the fact that you have the save data. Because then at that point, I'd have to get Dragon Age 4 on Xbox. Well, it wouldn't matter. If there was multiplayer to it, I don't know if I would even play it. I believe there was some kind of multiplayer to Inquisition. I never played it, though. I think the servers were down by the time I was really, replaying Inquisition anyway. I don't know. I think there was something like that for it online. Some kind of online aspect. But yeah, dude, that's just a memorable experience, especially replaying it. Replaying those games on stream, just back to back to back, having that be a full series playthrough. Oh, God, I loved it. And I love those characters. I love each one of my main characters. Love my Warden, love my Champion of Kirkwall, love my Inquisitor. Champion of Kirkwall is definitely my favorite. She's fucking great. But the Warden and the Inquisitor are dope too. And I tried to make them all different. And that was cool, due to the choices. My Warden was kind of I essentially called him an asshole with a heart of gold. He was, really rude, because he came from nobility, so I wanted to kind of have the attitude of, looking down on others here and there. But then as the game progresses, he kind of is willing to help out more, even though he's still kind of a douchebag. Not even a smartass, a douchebag. He's mean. But he means well. And then, my hero, my Champion of Kirkwall was the smartass. She's really cool. She's fun to get along with. She's an asshole, like a troll. She likes to joke around a lot, clown things, even in serious situations. And then my Inquisitor was I wanted him to be someone who didn't want to be a hero that ends up being a hero. So he was very on the side of justice, but he didn't really want to be involved with this stuff. And then as the game progresses, he becomes more of like that straightforward, like, I'm the hero of this, like, I'm the leader, we're gonna do what is right for the world. And I wanted them, and I feel like they're all very different characters, because if Dragon Age 4 happens and you see your other characters from previous games, fingers crossed we finally see our fucking Warden again, it'd be cool to see them interact. Like, it'd be cool to see those characters interact, especially since we're going to be making another new character in Dragon Age 4. And also, I'm probably... I don't know what class I'm going to be. I think I'm... Because the only things I haven't... I was a rogue in 1. I was a rogue dual weapon in Origins. I was a mage in Dragon Age 2. And I was a two-handed warrior in Inquisition. So, I'm either going to be a weapon and shield warrior next game, or a rogue archer. So, I don't know yet. We'll see. But damn, I talked about that game a lot. I barely have time to talk about the other two things. Fuck. I wish I hadn't done that. Durarara is my favorite anime of the decade, though. Why is Durarara my favorite anime of the decade? Well, my friends. My friends. I can't really explain that. Durarara, first off, is my second favorite anime series of all time. The only thing that I like more than Durarara is Yu Yu Hakusho. But Yu Yu Hakusho did not come out this decade. The thing about Durarara is, or was, the fact that it was so random and unknown. And it's one of those things that grabbed me from the start because I didn't know what the fuck it was. It just suddenly appeared one day. Back when I would watch anime on Toonami late night, Durarara just started airing without warning, without announcement, without notification. Like, we didn't know it was going to play in a time slot. It just started playing. And I remember me and my friends being hella confused because we were like, what the fuck is this show even supposed to be? And we felt that way for like the first 4 episodes. And it was like the first 4 episodes of Durarara are so weird because it's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, they keep showing all these different characters and these different aspects and these different times a day, but then you're like, is it the same day, just different people? What is this about? Is this like some kind of anthology? What is going on? And then when you get to episode 5, you kind of start piecing it together. You're like, oh, okay, things are starting to make sense now because this person is doing this, but that's why this person's doing that, which caused this person. And like, everyone is connected. Everyone in the city doing something is connected to somebody else. Whether they know someone else, they bumped into somebody else, they were introduced to a mutual friend, they're enemies. Like, we now have like these establishing links of why the plot is going the way it's going. And then from there, you kind of have to figure out what the big thing is of that particular arc, because you can split Durarara up into 5 parts. There's kind of like 5 little arcs. And that's how every arc kind of goes. You're like, get those first few episodes trying to figure out what's happening, and then you're like, okay, I kind of get it, and then you're trying to piece together the mystery before they tell you. So it's kind of like a fun little thing to do. And I remember rewatching the whole thing with one of my friends, and he's really good at solving mysteries for stories, whether they be animes or just regular shows. He can predict the plot really well. That doesn't make it a bad plot. He's just really good at doing that. And the only time I've really seen him like super stumped on something has been Durarara. Like, he'd be half right every time. He's like, okay, this is what's gonna happen. And he told me, I'm like, you almost had it. Like, there's just like little aspects that he just quite didn't get his finger on. And it was really funny to see like him like, yo, what the fuck is going on? Like, just really stressed out as he's trying to, like, piece together what's about to happen. And Durarara is weird because it's not even, like, really a shonen, but it has some great action scenes. It has, like, some great... It feels like life. It's, like, life exaggerated is what Durarara is. I don't want to say it feels exactly like life because there's a lot of, like, unrealistic supernatural stuff going on in that story. But it's just the life in the city, like, really exaggerated. And the main character, there is, like, a defined main character, but everyone can be a main character. The main character moves into the town, and he just wants to feel like he's more than like normal or generic. He wants to feel a part of something, like deeper. And the city's so unique and full of these fantastical and amazing kinds of people, whether they just be like these delivery drivers who used to run a gang, be in a gang, this dude with unimaginable strength that no one knows why he can just like pick up a stop sign and chuck it at you. Some black dude who has a Russian accent that runs a sushi place. Like, there's all these weird fucking people in the world, in the city, and he wants to feel like he can truly be a part of that. He doesn't want to be the observer on the outside looking in. He wants to be in that circle. And if you had to pinpoint the main character, it would be him. And his goal is to be involved in that. And that's what stirs the pot a lot of the time in certain plots. And his character devolving and evolving from there into something else halfway through the story is what is really, really cool, because he starts to kind of take this darker path because he's doing anything he can to be a part of that world. He doesn't want to be left behind by everyone else. He doesn't want to be that observer. And the lengths he's willing to go as he starts becoming kind of more deranged and more sinister is like, yo, what the fuck happened to this kid? Like, it's a good little wild... And that's like one character's arc. That's one character's arc. There's so many people. The thing I think is really cool about Durarara that I really like is there's so many people that they've managed to balance out really well. I don't want to say everyone's equally balanced, but everyone who gets screen time gets the screen time they needed to get. Like, the amount of screen time they got, they didn't need any more or any less than that. So you're always going to find, when you watch Durarara, you're going to find it. There's no way you're not going to find at least one person you like. You could, like, say you hate the story, but you're like, I like this character, though. Because there's so many people with so many different personalities that conflict with each other. So it's this... There's no way you're not going to find a character you like. Like... And my favorite two were that main character I was talking about, Mikado Ryugamine, and my other favorite character is Shizuo Hiwajima. The cool thing of Shizuo's whole thing is he's the muscle for like a debt collecting agency, but ever since he was a kid, he's always had like a really short temper, and for some reason his adrenaline, like the rage pumping through his body when he gets mad, it like drastically increases his strength. So ever since he was a kid, he's been able to like pick up a fridge and like huck it at somebody if he got too mad, and he always lost control of his temper, but he would like break his bones as a result because his body wasn't strong enough to handle throwing that kind of stuff, but he got stronger and stronger as he went through it. And he's not being angry for the sake of being angry, he just has this temper and he wants to be understood and not fucking be bothered. He really doesn't like fighting, and he wants friends and he wants to be cool and he just wants to be liked. And it's hard for him to do it because everyone just sees him as this brute or this monster, and they're just like, oh, it's fucking Shizuo, and he gets pissed and starts just blowing through everyone. And he's a very like misunderstood kind of person. And that's what pisses him off too. Like, if you misunderstand him, he gets mad. Like, he has a really short fuse, but he's a good guy. And his character I really, really like too, because the more you see him, the more you get to know him. You're just like, dude, he just wants to be left the fuck alone. I feel it. Like, that's all he wants. He's very thankful for his friend giving him the job at the debt collecting agency. He doesn't like causing trouble. There's one point where he's getting arrested at his job, and instead of causing like a big scene and getting angry and fighting, he peacefully goes into police custody because he doesn't want to hassle his boss. He doesn't want to give any more trouble to his boss. He's a nice dude, but as soon as he finds out who ended up putting him in jail, who called the cops on him, oh, he goes into a rage because there's another character that they fucking hate each other. He's just more aggressive in the hate. And as soon as he finds out, he's just like, I'm gonna kill this son of a bitch. And he's pissed. So, I could go more and more into the raw. I'm not gonna have time to go into the album. Oh. I guess next podcast of the first 2020 podcast, we'll talk about my favorite album from that last decade. Maybe go into Durarara some more. Maybe do a Durarara themed podcast. I don't know. Maybe do a Dragon Age podcast too. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I'm not going to have enough time to go into the last thing. I talked about Dragon Age way too much because I went through all the games, just my whole story with encountering it. But Durarara I could talk about more too. And Durarara is based off of light novels. I actually have the first 2 light novels. I eventually am going to buy them all. It's just going to take some more time to get them all. They're not expensive. It's just like, over time. Once I have to have the time to finish reading the second book before I just end up buying the third one. So I'm thinking every time when I finish one of the books, I'll just read the next one. They're not very long books too. It's just, making time to read. So once I finish the second one, I'll read the third one, and there's 13 books. They're light novels too. So like I said, they're short. And for the most part, it's the same storyline. I know there's some differences here and there that I'm going to encounter, especially later. I know there's some differences in certain events going down, but it's nothing like too extreme. Like, the anime doesn't go too far off from where the light novels go, especially considering the main plot, as far as I know. For all I know, during the last, 2-3 books, it could be completely different. But I also know there's, kind of this sequel series that takes place in a time skip. And I might want to get that too. I don't know if it's translated yet, because it took a long time just for the original light novel series to be translated. And then I believe there's a manga adaptation of the light novel series. I don't know if that's done or not. And then we have our anime. Also, all of Durarara's opening slap, except for opening 5. Opening 5's ending is the best endings theme now. I wonder if they're going to make the sequel books into a show too. I would love that. I would love more Durarara. It's also not very long. Like I said, you could split it up into 5 parts, and that'd be 12 to 13 episodes apart. It's 60-something episodes. It's on Hulu, subbed and dubbed. I believe it's also on Netflix. I don't know about the sub or the dub though, because I normally watch Hulu. But it's subbed and dubbed on Hulu, because I remember I watched the whole series subbed as it was airing, and then when everything got dubbed, I watched the whole series again dubbed, and then I watched it all the way through dubbed again when my friend was watching it. So I'd be down to watch Durarara again. Definitely an underrated gem, even though, like I said, everything's underrated, everything's overrated. Definitely my favorite series to come out in the last 10 years. I absolutely fucking adored it. But I think we're going to end the podcast of the year here. Very anticlimactic but like I said, I was just going to go through some last minute things, talking about what I was planning to do for next year, what to expect, my favorite stuff. Games I'm expecting to play next year: Final Fantasy VII Remake, Persona 5 Royale, Persona 5 Scramble, maybe Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. We'll see how that goes. But I'm going to roll out now, guys. Have a good Friday. Have a good weekend. Have a good see you next year. But anywho, if there's not a podcast next week, there'll be one the week after that. It just all depends on the timing of that. But I might take a week off before we come back with the season 2 thing. But see you guys later. Enjoy your New Year's Eve. Enjoy your New Year's Day. And I'm out.
Hey, hey, hey,
Also support Art Project's Facebook page if you want more information on what's going to be happening with Season 2, what's going to be happening with Another Random Tale, what's going to be happening with music in that case, all the stuff of me. Shameless, selfish, self-centered plug, I know, but, just living my life. So go ahead and like Art Project's Facebook page. Please do so. Happy early New Year's, guys. Later.